Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Jay Pestridge. Welcome to another P3Dv6 video, and today we're going to talk about the PBR for the PMDG planes. I'm going to be showing you how to properly, for version 6, apply the PBR. So I've set up a plane here which has got my favorite livery on it, and I've removed the PBR except for the back section just to show you basically what the difference is between a non-PBR plane, which you'd probably find in like P3D version 3 or 4. The reflections that PMDG have added, I've left on the engine there. You can just about see it, barely. And I've left it on the back just so you can see the difference between what PBR does and, you know, when it's removed, what it looks like. It just basically adds reflection of the material to whatever it's reflecting, and obviously the light of the sim is going to be affected by this, or it's going to be affected by the light of the sim, and anything that's like on the ground will be reflective. Now, back in the old days, and it's even true of, you know, some of the PMDG planes, this was done by a process of a texture that would be reflected off this model. So a texture would be added to the model of the plane, and it would make it look like and appear like there is actually a reflection when there isn't. And that's an old way of adding textures. Nowadays it's done very simply by just giving the model or the texture that's assigned to that model an assigned color for reflectivity. Yellow if it's made of chrome, and then if you want a more sort of matted metal look, it would be a green color. And depending on the color or light or darkness of that green, you would get a reflection that's either stronger or dimmer. If we look into the files of the PMDG plane for where this livery sits, the BCAL livery, and we go and have a look at the livery, this is the person who's made it has put these green ones in. But if we look in any other model, which is actually from PMDG themselves, you'll notice that these green ones have been put in. Now, these are PMDG's own modeling of PBR. So, you know, the 737s have been given PBR, but they were given PBR for version 5. And it is not exactly the same, which is why a lot of people you would notice getting dark planes or things just not looking right. Now, I'm going to show you the difference here between the PBR that PMDG apply here on the tail, and I'm going to quickly add my PBR to the rest of the plane and show you the difference. Okay, so I've gone ahead now and I filled in the rest of the plane with the PBR that I'm going to show you how to do in a moment to all the 737s, and in a simpler way to other planes as well in the PMDG lineup. But this is the difference between the two PBRs. It tends to look a little bit dark, you know, and that's probably what most of you are finding inside your version 6 sim, is that your plane's exterior is a little bit dark, and that your plane flight deck is even darker. And I'm going to also show you how to brighten up the flight decks as well and alter them. So here we'll do the back end of the plane together, but here you can see like the reflections on the engine are much better, you know, much more realistic, and just I think all the reflections, like in general, are just more reflective and just appear more natural to what the plane should be. At the end of the day, a plane is coated in metal, and you know, even if it's been coated with a non-reflective sheen on it, it still will reflect something. So I think that the PBR here looks far better than the default version 5 PBR, which is set really for version 5. And you know, for the shaders of that sim. But you know, this sim has changed quite a lot, version 6, so the shaders have also changed, which means the PMDG planes don't sort of mix well with the sim. So I think you can tell in the underneath bit here of the yellow line, when I go back and forth here, you can see it a lot more defined in the fuselage than you can at the moment. So let's get in to the program, and I'll show you how to do it. So like I said, you needed to have got the program model converter X already installed in your machine, no matter where you put it at the end of the day. And a plane basically is made up of a model file here, which is the exterior model that you saw, and then the textures are wrapped around it. And I had this texture made for me by somebody, and we'll look at one here that came with the op center, and you'll notice one difference. There's the green files are the PBR, like I said before, from PMDG, and in the files you can see some have yellow bits which are chromed, and then some have different shades of green, and dirt has been applied, meaning that there'll be different brightness depths to that texture or to the model that the PBR has applied. But I kind of find that it's not, I don't know, it's just it doesn't look right in version 6. So you can find this file here, this green one, in any other model. If you go to like the NGXU, for instance, into the common folder, you'll find this file here. So basically copy that and put it inside the you can put it inside the common file of whatever model you want to change. So we'll be changing the NGXU BW800, and it's this folder that you want to pop it in. I've also popped it in the texture that I will be showing you here, just to make it easy, but it can sit in this this common folder here. So as we can see here, there's no PBR been done for the fuselage, except for the third final one, which I put in here just to show you the difference. So we'll get rid of that one. And then there's a wing left and right, a tail, and an engine. Now we're going to keep the PMDG's modeling for the wings and the engines. Okay, so the way they've done it, because this one has the yellow chrome in it, so your edge of your engine will still have that chrome look if we keep that in. Same for the wings, it'll still have this chrome look, but the fuselage really that doesn't have any chrome, and it tends to look a little bit still too dark. So basically what we need to do is go into the model folder and right click on it and open with, and your model converter X should show up here. If it doesn't, just go down to more apps and search for the executable on your hard drive, and then next time it'll be here and you can just click OK, and it will open up model converter X. It will open up the model of the 737 in this program. Now you're gonna get loads of like errors that appear down here, and it'll start flickering like mad, and that's okay. It doesn't usually do that, but I think that there's so many moving parts and so many things that are loaded, it just bugs out the thing, but it still does work. It's still gonna be fine. You don't have to worry or anything like that. So so once it loads and these red things start flashing, just go up here to the material editor and click on that, and this is where we're going to do all of our work. So I haven't changed what the settings are on here, so this is how you'll find the setup. Okay, first of all, we're going to remove that fuselage one, and we're going to go in here and take the name of this file here, which is what we're going to add to the rest of it. And basically in the section that says metallic texture, just paste Control V the name of the file, so it knows what file to look for when it's going to put this all together. Now I've gone ahead and I've already done that for the rest of the fuselage. That's how I showed it you. The engines, I'm keeping PMDG's engines, and same for the wings down here. I'll be keeping that, and I'll swap out the tail for that one, and And you can do the little tug if you want that's applied, but it's already got one here, so you don't really need to. But if we scroll back up, we'll start at the top. There's a few more settings that you need to change. So here where it says metallic, that needs to be a 1 because the engines are a metallic surface. And in these 3 boxes, is PBR material, it should be true. Same for occlusion and same for reflection, because at the end of the day, any metal surface will reflect something on, out. So that should say true. Make sure this box is white 255 across the board there. And basically this is what you're looking for. So going down, it's just a case of making sure they all do say the same thing. So metallic 1, true, 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 and then your metallic texture added. And that's the only things you'll need to change. So once you've done this, then you've pretty much finished it. Scroll down to the tail. Yes, true, true, true. And the added 1, and then the wings. They are made of metal. They will reflect. True, true, true. And same with that one. True, true, true. So once you've done this now, you can hit the apply button. You don't have to though, but you can. Just come out of this one and back to the main one, and then go to export object and just highlight this to make sure the file name is the same, and click save. Now you're not gonna and click yes to replace. Now you're not gonna know when it finishes saving, because usually it does come down here with a message saying finished saving, right? But unfortunately with PMDG planes that doesn't pop up because it's bugged out. So when this yellow box disappears, that's when it's finished saving your changes to this. Now if you basically make a copy, if you go into the model folder here and make a copy of the PMDG model and just save it to this location, you can make a backup copy, because if you change it and you don't like the changes, then you can revert back to what was there before very, very easily. That's now saved. And basically this exact process will work for all of the 737s, okay? The exact same process. Now in terms of the 747-400 series, it's a little bit different. There are no PBR materials, so basically what we need to do is open up the model, and I'm going to be using the GE model for this demonstration. Click OK, and basically in the common folder again there are these 3 green PBR bits, and like this is where the PBR at a basic level was added to the model itself. Now PBR isn't added to a texture, it's added to the model. So basically if you find a common folder, you'll always find the green files, okay? 1, 2, 3. And that's where it's basically added. But there was one thing that's missed off. If we go into this model and look at the engines and that, you'll basically find that this reflectance box again hasn't been ticked. That is the only difference you need to make, or change rather, in any of these files here. And the files that we're only changing in the PMDG ones are the wings left and right, which these actually do need to be set to true. The tail, the fuselage, and there's 3 of them, and the engines, and that's really it. Make sure the box is white here. Make sure it says true for is PBR material. Say true for occlusion, true for reflectance, and then make sure that there's a metallic texture assigned. And obviously there is a metallic texture assigned to these ones, but there was no reflectance added, so that needs to be there in version 6. And then this one basically is done. So again, export object, click on the model and save it. And that's the 747s done. Very easy. Now in terms of the 777, I think it's even easier, because if we look in the common folder, you can tell that yes, everything was PBR'd by the looks of it, even with bump maps. So they've done a good job on the 777, but all these reflection DDSs, this is basically the old way of adding reflections. So they've done a good job on the PBR, but they were also using the old way again. So we're basically going to be doing it exactly the same thing here. So that's now saved. We can come out of there. Basically, you're going to go for the exterior model, right? Open it up in Model Converter X again. Go into the material editor, and again look for the fuselage and all that. And all you have to do again is click true again, and then it will reflect properly. Making sure that the metallic as well is set to 1. This tells the sim that the surface that that you're talking about here is a metal surface and should be treated as such. Going down to, I think I did the fan blades as well, but they won't reflect metal because they're made of a diffused, a very diffused metal. Tail, nope, not that one. Wing. And that is it for that. So the tail, oh, that's the tail there. Metal, yes, 1. And the wing, metallic. And that is it for that. And export objects. Now we're going to go back in and we'll have a look at the 737 that has been fully PBR'd now. And you'll see what a difference it makes. Like I said, this process will work for all of the PMDG planes. It's very simple. I mean, at the end of the day, I recommend waiting for PMDG to update their planes. I'm sure they will. You know, they always have in the past, so I'm pretty sure they will update their planes. But if you really can't wait and you really are frustrated at how the planes look, then this is the safest way to do it. But it's just having to do it for every single one of these models. That's the only pain, you know. So the DC6 now. The DC6 never had any PBR added to any of the planes. This was a version 4 plane only. It never even got a version 5, you know, so there's no PBR in any of these folders. Even for the liveries, there's nothing. So what I've done is I've created this square here, and I've called it PBR CDDS, right? And to add PBR to the DC6, you basically, and you'll have to do it for each of the models again, go into the model again, making sure you save it just in case you want to change it back. And at this time, you basically will add this blanket texture to the fuselage, and it then will properly show and be bright enough in the sim. So basically, again, going to the fuselage. So here in the fuselage, these are the items that will be affected. So you want to paste the line in there. You want to go to true, 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 and making sure that that is a white box. The wings again, true, 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 metallic 1, and a white box. The tail, sometimes they might have 2 textures, and that'll be most likely 1 for day and 1 for night. So you will have to do both to make sure. So there's 2 tails here. True, true, true. Now, some might say that, oh, well, this is a right pain to do all this. I'm not doing this, you know, and that's fine. At the end of the day, like, no one's forcing you to do this. This is just if you can't wait and you really want to, you know, get on it and fly the planes and see them in version 6, you know, because at the end of the day, it could be about 2 or 3 years before they update these planes. Who knows? They might be waiting for a certain version of P3D6 to come out before they even attempt to update them. You know, P3D when it first releases, usually it's about 2 or 3 iterations before it gets a bit stable in terms of its shaders and the lighting and stuff, because people report problems and Lockheed Martin will change the sim based off those issues that are found. So by the time 6.3 comes around, usually it's a very stable sim and the shaders don't tend to change much. But you know, from 6.0 to 6.3, you might actually find that the lighting might change quite a lot, you know, as Lockheed Martin refine it. Or they might find issues that need changing, which would require the developers to continually be updating. So to save them some time, they might just be waiting for that, who knows. So that's basically everything. So again, we're going to save it. Again, you only need to do this to the actual fuselage of the plane itself. You don't need to do this to anything else. And that's that saved. So down here, as you can see, it's not bugging out. Everything's writing here is normal, and it'll say finished writing when this completes, and the yellow box will disappear. There we go, finished writing file. We can now exit out of that, and we can now load up the sim and have a look at that 737. So there we go, completely now redone the PBR modeling for the exterior fully, and yeah, I think definitely does look better, more reflective, and just a bit brighter in color as well, so it will look appropriate in the sim. And if we do change it to nighttime, it does look like it should really at nighttime. It still reflects, and the metal and the chrome still is the same. Now you might say that inside the flight deck is also very dark, and yeah, it is. So there are a few things we can do to make sure that this is a little bit brighter. Now, one thing it greatly depends upon is the plane's positioning to the sun. So if we go outside, so we look outside, the sun is basically on the right side, I believe. Yep, there it is, the right side of the plane. So it's coming in through these windows on the right side. So on this side, it's going to be a bit brighter, as you can see. Then on the captain's side, it will be a lot darker, like here. Now that's normal. You know, when in areas that the sunlight is not achieving, it will be darker, and that is normal. You know, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's quite diffused light. But if I was to change the time as well and roll it back, you know, the flight deck would get darker. You know, there's no lighting in here at the moment, so of course it's going to be darker. But there's a few things we can do to help the light come in, because the way the light is actually done in version 6 is it will only come through the windows, really. It won't flood through these textures like in version 5, which is why you had a lot of bright flight decks, and probably everyone's gotten used to seeing quite how bright it is. But here's what you can do to help the brightness in the sim. So when I come in, I turn on the panel lighting to full. And obviously, we're in a cold and dark state, so you're not going to notice anything. So basically, you're going to turn on all of these lights here, the big knobs, making sure that we put them up to full. And then we'll obviously get the ground power started, and then that is when you'll notice the lighting in here. And there's something we can do to alter the lighting as well to our own tastes. So just get all these big knobs turned up, and then I'll show you, and we'll get the battery started. Should keep it on ground power, and we'll call for the units. Oh, we've got ground power. Brilliant. Oh, okay, so we can start that up straight away. There we go. So now, one thing that should happen is flicking the dome light should activate this dome light, but it doesn't. Now, the reason is basically because it's a night lighting thing only you'll see the difference in. So if I was to turn this this cockpit into a flight deck, sorry, into a nighttime, and you'll notice that the dome light isn't really activating. What's happening is the textures are, the lighting is basically baked in, so it's not actual real lighting, it's baked in. And obviously you're not going to see a red one here. I've done this myself. This is the night lighting that I've applied to the aircraft myself, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And you can actually select any color you want. So let me just quickly turn on every light we have available so we can see how strong the lighting is. One thing you'll notice as well is the floodlight here. It doesn't dim anymore. It's basically an on and off switch. So there it is off, and there it is on, and that's all it is. And it's the same with this background bright knob here. You either have it on or you have it off. You know, no longer is there a gradient decline of light. It's basically an on and off switch. So yeah, so we can turn them on and we'll get a floodlight, or we turn them off. The panel lights do gradient down, but only at nighttime. It won't happen during the day like it used to. So I just have them on max, and yeah, have it like set like this, and this is fine. Obviously you can turn it to 2 different states here, like that or like that. I just keep it on the middle switch there. And obviously the panel lights, they will go down and up though with the lighting, but the circuit breakers I think is an on and off switch as well. So okay, so one thing we can do, if we go over to this FMC over here and go to the PMDG setup into options, there's a colors tab here, and if we go over to the floodlights, you can actually set the color you want here. So if you want a darker, like I'll reset the color so you'll see what it looks like. This is what you'll be faced with when you open it, and then you basically alter the RGB channels to determine whatever color you want, you know. And obviously when you make a change, it will only happen when you reset the sim. So the higher these numbers, the brighter the light will be applied. The lower the number, the less the light will be applied. So if I go for 75 in the green, click OK. Oh, 75 in the blue as well. Then I get a red light here, and the red channel is quite high. So I mean, I can lower that as well, and it will change the color output again. If I put this down to 50, then we get more green because it's gone below that. So even if we add a bit more red, we can see it coming up 85, and then I could go 150, and then that should be more predominantly red, but still that's a bit too red, so we'll go 100. No, 125. And that's about the right red that I want. So I click OK, and now that will save, and when we load the sim up next, it will show in the sim. And this is a way that you can actually get your night lighting not too overpowering. You can limit the amount of light that's in there, and you can actually set the color for pretty much the entire flight deck, whatever you want it to be. There's also the dome light here, the spotlights. You know, the entire lighting panel can be set to whatever color you want. You could have crazy neon greens or whatever, but this is a feature that's always been here. So that's basically the best way to sort out the lighting inside the sim. So that's basically the flight deck. Now if we go outside and have a look, the lighting out here is pretty much okay already. Like, not much needs to be done, but the lighting here is totally dependent on the sim's own lighting system. So in a previous video, I gave out a load of values to put in your P3D and those were crucial in order to making the sim's night lighting and day lighting appear in a certain way. Another trick you can do, if you go into, well actually I keep it at night time, but if you go into the options into live graphics, and the brightness adjustment actually dims and brightens the lighting of your sim. So you can actually tone exactly what you want to see in your sim. Now, I had mine set to 20 because, and this will apply to both day and night, by the way. So it's a way to, you know, set your dynamic lighting to the strength that you want. I have mine set to 20 because it will affect the daytime as well. I mean, it's hard to get it on the nose, but there we go. And I have my saturation to 120 again. If you think that's too much, you can turn it down and you can set it to whatever you like. But these are my settings for lighting. I use bloom, I use auto exposure, I use dynamic lighting, I don't use cloud dynamic lighting, and I display the lens flare. And that's everything there. So the aircraft now does look appropriate to what it should do at night with the lighting, and also during the day. If we turn it back to a daytime and apply that,
this parking is too small,
then it's now appropriate really for what it should look like. Looking a lot better. And inside the flight deck, it's also nicely lit as well. If you've got those values inside the last video are the key to getting the flight decks a little bit brighter, because during the day the night lighting actually doesn't take any effect. So if you flick this, you know, it doesn't change a single thing. This is a night lighting system that I showed you before only. During the day, it's the lighting from the sim that will invade this flight deck, and at the end of the day, this flight deck is good and bright. It all depends on the positioning of the sun. So if you load your plane up in version 6 for the very first time, and you've got the sun behind you, or it's nighttime or whatever, you're going to have a very different idea of how bright these flight decks can get. Because at the end of the day, it really does depend on the positioning of the sun. If I was to move this around, you'll notice that the sun light coming in through the flight deck brightens up areas of the texture, and leaves other things in darkness. And when you're flying, the sun acts differently above the clouds as it does below the clouds. So there's going to be clouds in the sky, which means the flight deck does get a little bit darker. And again, it depends on the positioning of your plane in relation to the sun and the sun itself, and it also depends greatly on the positioning of where you are in the world, because the sun reacts differently in North Pole and South Pole in terms of how much light you get. It does you know, behave a little bit differently. So yeah, so that's basically it for the flight deck. And in terms of the lighting, the FMC is the best way to command the lighting for your nighttime to get the right color and the right amount in. Sadly, the turn dials here are only a flick switch now. They're not an actual gradient, you know, thing. So it's like it's either gonna be off, you know, or it's gonna be on, but it doesn't get any brighter when you ramp it up. So it's now just utilizing the lighting that PMDG provides you in a way that it works in this sim, that you like, you know, like that's way too much. That is, turn that off, you know. And so this to me now looks okay, you know, looks appropriate. And again, if I wanted to change that color, I could, you know, but a little bit of a red one or whatever, you know. And that's basically it. So this plane now is fit for flight. We can fly her, and she is good to go at the end of the day. And it's not too dark in the sim, you know, in terms of the lighting. Everything's lit appropriately, I think, and we're good to go. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. The next video I'll be looking at the Aerosoft planes, showing you how to do the PBR for that, showing you how to deal with the lighting in those planes, the Airbus Professional Series and the A330. Don't forget, every month I go live with a vlog, and I give away 50 euros of sim market vouchers for flight sim add-ons. And if you want to be a part of that, all you have to do is be a subscriber to my channel, leave a comment down in any one of my P3D videos, and at the end of the month I'll announce the winner. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.